Shalom everyone, it's your boy PayGdashtheprophet. Now this is a throwback video of me having a discussion with a so-called Jewish man back in 2017. Check this out.
There are a lot, I know there are in Israel a lot Ethiopian Jews before.
Okay.
Which are obviously from Ethiopia and Africa.
You ever hear African Jews?
African Jews?
So these are black Jews, all right? They're stranded in the middle of Ethiopia.
And I know that there's the law in Israel about the right of return.
Okay.
Which basically gives any Jew, no matter where he was born, gives him the right to become a citizen of Israel and come there and move.
Okay.
So now I'm having a conversation with him trying to solidify and confirm our so-called black people or African Americans, like, are they the real biblical people? Okay, so that's basically what's in conversation right now.
How do they call it? Well, basically become a citizen and go live there if they want to.
Right.
So pretty much, I know there are some, for lack of a better term, sects out there.
Okay.
Of a combination of people that are said to be from Jewish origin.
So-called Negroes.
Well, I don't know if I would call them that, but there are a lot in Africa.
Or black people, basically.
Well,
I mean, I'm using that term loosely.
No, because it's in the book. I understand. I know
Right.
it sort of became a derogatory term, and I'm not looking to offend anybody.
So what he's talking about is the so-called African, what they call Jews, Hebrew Israelites in the West Africa. He said they're sects. Now, I brought this information out in my lesson called the genetic heritage of so-called black people. All right, and they did genetic testing on these people from the west coast of Africa.
Africa has perhaps hundreds of millions of people with this identity right now of being from the people of Israel.
So in South Africa, in many parts of South Africa, you find the Lembas who are actually Hebrews.
So the Lembas claim to be descendants of ancient Israelites?
Not claim, they are.
They are.
And a professor from Duke University went out there and did DNA testing on them. And he showed not only do they share Semitic genes from people who were in Yemen and back to the Middle East, these gentlemen, a large percent of them, have the Y chromosome to be Kohanim, to be priests.
So the genetic testing actually proved to the doubters what you and your forefathers have been saying for generations. That must be exciting news.
It is.
I'll be honest, I hadn't heard of the Lemba. I knew very little about the people. But having spent time making the journey from Jerusalem down through Zimbabwe, having spent time here at this festival, seeing what your people are all about, I can only sum it up in one word, and that's shalom.
Shalom.
For 10 years in the church, and the Rev is preaching.
I'm Jewish.
Well, shalom and l'chaim on this shit.
But don't forget, you're also 1/4 Jewish.
Mazel tov, baby.
Shalom.
Shalom.
You got the Limba tribe, you got the Igbos, and these Europeans did their DNA testing on them and confirmed that these people, you had the Limba, who were like the priestly tribe from the tribe of Moses, okay, and then the Igbos, which were so-called black, which you call black people today. And then as we're talking, I was mentioning, so-called Negroes, black people, and he was like, yeah, it's a sort of a derogatory term. But we know in the scripture, Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 37, it says, "And thou shalt become an astonishment, a proverb, and a byword," blacks, African Americans, Negroes, all these different terms.
Who the hell are you? Call me whatever you want. That's what you white folks do.
Among all nations, whether the Most High shall lead these. And that's why I was saying that, because we are actually in biblical prophecy of having these different names.
But I know there are, well, basically the way our history goes is there were 12 tribes.
Now, most people don't know about the 12 tribes of Israel, especially in Christianity. Christianity does not talk about the 12 tribes of Israel. They just talk about Jesus, 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 okay, and what he did, and God loves everyone. There's no more. There's no conversation about the 12 tribes of Israel in Christianity, even though the entire Bible is about these people, end time prophecy, and all of that. So this is the big deception about Christianity. That's one of the big deceptions about Christianity. If you don't know about the 12 tribes of Israel, basically they are descendants from the seed of Jacob, okay, the forefather Jacob, whose name was changed to Israel. Thus, he had 12 children. Thus, 12 tribes would be the 12 nations of Israel, basically. That's where that whole story comes from. But once again, it's not spoken about in Christianity, even though the prophecies about these people are all throughout what they call the Bible.
Which tribe are you from?
Well, there are only 2 left.
So
12 Jewish tribes, I'm sorry.
It's 12 Jewish tribes, but
From
just...
Jacob, there was 12 kids.
Okay.
And there were 12 tribes.
Right.
They all lived in Israel, in Jerusalem, and in Israel in general.
Right.
They were sent to exile. 10 of those 12 were sent to exile about 17 or 18 years prior to that, I believe it was.
Okay.
And they were sent to the Far East. As far as our history is concerned, they were lost.
The lost tribes of Israel were black.
And they're not going to be back with us until the Messiah comes. And they were, over the
so
years...
they're lost, but not, you mean lost like...
and unknown to us.
Unknown to you guys.
Right.
Now, notice he said as far as our history is concerned, they were lost. So these biblical people, the 12 tribes or the 10 tribes, basically, they were lost.
He could have been from the lost tribe of Israel. They were supposed to be black.
I bet they were. If ever people were lost, we're it.
Okay, his is found. They know who they are, but these other people, they're lost according to their history. Maybe the Talmud is what he's probably talking to or referring to. But according to biblical history, if we go into Deuteronomy chapter 28, verses 47 and 48, and it says, because thou servest not the Most High your God, with joyfulness and with gladness of heart, for the abundance of all things, therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
God's blessing on you this morning. Yeah. You place your hand on this book, and I'll pray for you.
Okay, so these biblical people would be serving their enemies, that's one, which the Most High shall send against you, okay, in hunger and thirst and nakedness and in want of all things. So these biblical people would be serving their enemies in want of all things, which we're doing right now, okay? And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until he has destroyed you mentally. That is biblical history. That is biblical prophecy, and that is actually reality. We actually went through that, and we're actually still dealing with that, okay? We're still captives here. Even though the chains have come off, we still have mental chains now, okay? And we have not been delivered from our captivity by our God yet. That's the thing, okay? That's the thing people should really think about. Also, just to confirm, Deuteronomy chapter 4, verse 27, and it says, and the Most High shall scatter you among the nations, and you shall be left few in number among the heathen, whither the Most High shall lead you. So, again, God's people have been scattered into slavery among the nations.
So to the 2 tribes that were left in Jerusalem for another between 12 to 18 years.
Which would be what? Which tribe?
Well, it's Benjamin and Judah.
In Judah.
In Judah, right.
So, okay, Benjamin, Judah, and then the rest of the...
Some of Levi.
So you're saying Benjamin, Judah is there, but the rest of the others are not...
lost.
So he's saying these 10 tribes were lost and unknown to them, right? But if he's supposed to be a biblical man, studied man, according to what the Most High is saying, Isaiah 11 and 12, and it shall come to pass in that day that the Most High shall set his hand again the second time to recover the remnant of his people, which shall be left from Assyria, and from Egypt, and from Pathros, and from Cush, and from Elam, and from Shinar, and from Hamath, and from the islands of the sea. And he shall set up an ensign for the nations. Remember, we are scattered to the nations, and shall assemble the outcast of Israel. So the Most High is going to gather his people that were scattered among the nations, and gather together the dispersed of Judah from the four corners of the earth, which confirms that his people were scattered to the four corners of the earth through slavery. Okay, is what we read. But according to their studies, they don't know. These people are just lost. But according to the biblical studies, we know where they're at. So,
Yeah, through history, there were all kinds of theories and stuff where those 10 tribes are. But it's in our studies, there says that those 10 will be returned together with the 2 that are left.
So we just read what the Most High is going to do, okay, when he returns for those people. All right, so it's not hard to find. He should know this, but this why we got to study. We got to do our own research. We can't allow these people to teach us. You see that? We can't allow these people to teach us, because things can be clear as day, but yet they'll tell you something else. They'll teach you something else. So
I don't know where they are.
So there were many tribes that were found, and those included, that were said to have certain customs that were Jewish customs, and certain traditions. So they were said to be, maybe those are those people.
So again, he's talking about those, what they call, categorized as African Jews. Okay, that's what he's referring to. The Igbos, the Limba, and the other tribe, the Yoruba, and stuff like that. They know about this. We have not been taught this in school. This is why I did that lesson, the genetic heritage of black people. They know the truth, okay? But they are not going to teach you the truth. That's the problem here. Because, of course, they hate you.
Okay. And one of the popular ones were the Ethiopians, and that's why they fought it out to be able to have the right of return as well.
Why would they have to fight it out if they're the biblical people? And why would they have to fight it out? It's clear these people are not the biblical people. Why? Because these people hate you, and they understand who you are. So if you come back to who you are, you're going to fulfill prophecy, and your God is going to be for you and not for them.
So just 2 tribes, but you believe in the Torah, right? The Torah, you keep the Torah.
Right.
So was it Deuteronomy? I think it was Deuteronomy.
Okay.
So at this point, I'm trying to get the camera. I'm trying to turn the camera around so you can actually see who I'm talking to now.
Chapter 30. Okay. It talks about the Most High coming back to basically bring the 12, or gather the children of Israel, or whatever, out of captivity.
So as I'm talking to him, I got the college textbooks right there in his face, so he can't really deny anything. If he tries to, I could show him if he tries to deny this. But again, back to what I was asking him and what I was mentioning, Deuteronomy chapter 30 and 3. And then the Most High your God will turn your captivity and have compassion upon you, and will return and gather you from all the nations whither the Most High your God have scattered you. So again, end time prophecy is that the Most High would gather his people who he scattered among the nations through slavery. That's clear in the scriptures, not anything I'm making up. It's in their Torah. So they should know this.
Do you know that the black man in America is Israel? That he's Jews? Do you know that?
Yes.
And they do know this. That's why they are prejudiced against you. Because it's really about you.
He said they were scattered into all nations.
Right.
So I was just trying to figure out, basically, if they were scattered into all nations, then they should still be within all nations, because it says that he would gather them out from all nations. So,
well, gather them from all nations, not necessarily that they're part of other nations. Well,
he said not necessarily that they're part of other nations, even though the scriptures are making it very clear. But let's go here to confirm one thing. Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 29. Happy art thou, O Israel, who is like unto you, O people saved by the Most High, the shield of your help, and who is the sword of your excellency. And thine enemies shall be found liars unto you, and thou shalt tread upon their high places. So the Most High told us a key right there. Our enemies will be found liars unto us. And when you do your research, as we should be doing, an investigation on things we should be doing, you're going to find that your enemies are liars, okay? And it just would make sense. They're killing you, they're poisoning you. So we don't think that they're going to lie to us. They enslaved you, killed your ancestors. Now you think they're going to be truthful to you? That's too kind.
I consider myself a Jewish American, so I'm part of the American.
Where you from, though? Where you from?
I was born and raised here.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was born and raised here. So it's among all nations, basically, you know, because there are Jews scattered all over.
Yeah. So it would be possible that the so-called Negroes would be
absolutely.
Jews.
Absolutely.
Okay. It would be possible that the so-called Negroes would be
absolutely.
Jews.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So there you go. There you go. He is admitting it. Okay? Absolutely. Absolutely. It would be very possible. This is from your so-called Jewish man. Okay? Admitting it would be very possible that you so-called black people, so-called African Americans, will be the biblical people.
And he accepts me. I'm Jewish.
Yeah. So what Nick Cannon was saying, okay, was the truth. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not denying that.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not. Yeah, I'm not denying that.
Okay.
I'm not saying it's not.
Don't trust the Jews.
Basically, if whoever is going to say that they are, it's going to go based on that theory that they might be from one of those 10 tribes.
Well, we don't want to go off any theories that, you know, we might be possibly from one of the other 10 tribes, because they want to take Judah and Benjamin and Levi for themselves and say, yeah, you got the rest. Maybe you're from the other tribe. We don't want to go off that theory. Okay? We don't want to go off that theory. We want to do our research and study and find out where we really from. And when you check out my genetic heritage of so-called black people, you're going to see. Okay? We're going to see. But let's go off this theory right here. Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 7. And the Most High, your God, will put all these curses upon thine enemies, upon your enemies, and on them that hate you, which persecuted you.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
So, what theory is that? Is that something that's actually happening right now? Is that something that we're actually dealing with? Can we relate to that biblical scripture? Yeah, let's go for that theory.
Okay, and would it be based on the Torah too, right?
Right. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Fair enough. Fair enough. I'm sorry, I don't want to take it either time.
Yeah, but since it's unknown to us, there was sort of a reluctance to accept them fully as Jews, not to assimilate.
Yeah, since it was a reluctance to them, they didn't want to consider you or assimilate you as Jews. No, let's be real. Because you hate them, okay? The Most High said we would be hated and persecuted. So there's no reluctance. Let's not sweeten it up here. Let's just be truthful and honest.
Okay.
There are some that, you know, felt wanted,
right,
so to speak.
Right.
They did.
Okay. Fair enough.
All right?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much.
Appreciate it, man.
Hi, Jay. How are you?
Oh, everything is everything.
So you see, you can approach these people and talk to them and have a decent conversation with them. You ain't got to be all rude and arrogant or ignorant. And you could bring the proof and the truth right before them. And they can't deny it, as you see.
It would be possible that the so-called Negroes would be
absolutely.
Jews.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, you know, again, situation with Nick Cannon, you know, with him going back on what he said, even though he had those books there, I mean, he could have easily backed up and proved what he was initially trying to say about the so-called black people being the biblical people and stuff like that. But he folded, he reneged, and, you know, that's what it is when you're in contract with these people and you're in a position, you know, like that. But hey, as we see, I didn't fold. I showed them the truth, the proof. I questioned him, and he didn't deny it. And I got other videos like that too, and I will be doing some more. So on that note, I'm gonna say peace and shalom, y'all.
It's not what you know, it's what you can prove.